Actually, Ethan destroys Hasan in political debates.
China. If you love China so much, why don't you marry it?
I don't even know if he's aware he's just.
Let's
Ethan just
marry
like asks really good questions, and he brings up really good points in like the most kind of
he's a socialist as well. He's protecting China.
aloof way. Well, it's media propaganda that's made us appreciate Taiwan, and look, we don't even care about Yemen and blah 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 blah. And Ethan's like, but don't we like trade a lot more with Taiwan? So isn't that kind of normal? He just happens to like so nonchalantly cut the bullshit, ask the best kind of question. It's really funny. Drunken master stuff.
Okay, another W for Ethan.
What about in Europe? They seem to care about Ukraine a lot.
It's the similar principle.
How are you going to say it's the media for Europe caring about a European country being invaded by the former Soviet Union? Bro.
Hold on. Ukraine borders Europe. Hold on, because I'm being double teamed now, so I need to speak. Okay. Of course it is. That is really not sincere.
You jumped to that.
No, he didn't jump to that. Ethan brought up
editing is on higher level.
exactly. What is Ethan like? Sometimes I feel like Ethan is like razor sharp. Ethan is correct. That was the implication. Hassan was implying that the only reason we give a about Ukraine is because the media manufactured our interest there. And he's bringing it up, and this guy's like, no, you jumped to that. No, he didn't jump to that at all. That was exactly what Hassan's implication was.
I am saying that.
And now Hasan literally is saying that.
I mean, not allowed to, but Hassan was saying.
Our good friend Hasan and our good friend Ethan.
The whole, like, leave Taiwan, or first leave Taiwan alone, and then give them all guns.
I understand that I'm exceptionally
So good plan.
lazy when it comes to, like, hair. Like, I've been doing my hair the same way since I've been a kid, right? But is Hasan, like, normal for changing hairstyles or abnormal? I feel like Hasan's a new hairstyle beard setup, like, every 3 months. Am I crazy? Is that normal? Do people really change up that much, or is it just he just like?
He's just without a beard in this one.
Yes, it's
make
normal.
Taiwan like
Changing hairstyles normal. It's normal for rich people. Okay.
America, where every person in Taiwan has a weapon.
How do we feel about Taiwan, Hassan? China or not
Taiwan?
China? Or is it China or not China?
That's the American policy. Whatever the American policy is, whatever the American perspective is.
You really won't say?
No, I'm saying it.
Oh no, is Ethan really gonna lean into him on this?
Okay. Actually, green.
So Hasan, his commie side wants to say like Taiwan basically, just because Taiwan is a U.S. ally and he's going to like xenophobia or whatever, or we don't like China, so that's the only reason we care about Taiwan and there's a proxy, blah blah blah. But he can't say that because that's actually an edgy opinion that is a little bit too edgy because support for Taiwan is generally popular in media. So it's gonna be hard for him, I think, to take that position of supporting Taiwan or of opposing Taiwan because that's actually not. He would have to actually have a backbone to be edgy and have that position. Let's see what he does.
It's like one country, two systems. You know?
No, it's not. It's two different countries.
Really?
Taiwan and China.
Is that according to American foreign policy?
No, what's your opinion? What's your opinion? Taiwan independent?
My opinion on
So he thinks Taiwan, China and Taiwan are same country.
Taiwan is that Taiwan is the Chinese concept of Taiwan should remain in the hands of people in Taiwan who believe
it's independent.
Who, for the record, for the most part, just believe to not disrupt the ongoing relations with.
Why are you being so carefully footed around?
Because I know that there's gonna be a subreddit post with like a million comments being like, Hasan wants everyone in Taiwan to be killed because he loves China. He's a Xi Jinping.
That's what I heard.
That's what I just. It's already over. You asked that question like in jest, and it's gonna.
No,
What is implying right now? I mean,
I was genuinely curious how you think about it.
I think that overall it's contemporary history is complex. At the end of the day, if the Taiwanese citizens would ever put this up for a vote and we're like, we want to be an independent nation, it's up to them. You know what I mean? You can't. No, there's not.
No, what Hasan said is true from everything I've read. That most.
Can you imagine being this cowardly with any of your opinions? Yeah, the thing that frustrates me the most too is I said this before. There's this concept that exists right now in progressive media about being edgy, but it's like the most politically safe edgy possible. So like Hasan will come out and be like, America deserved 9/11, and it seems edgy, but it's not really, right? Young people progressives hate America, blah blah blah. But like to take an actual strong stance on Taiwan, well now he actually would have to draw lines.
Yeah, I watched that video. That is not a good look.
That might cause him to catch some flack, so he'll waffle really hard on this. And it's like, bro, the same guy that defended saying America deserved 9/11 won't take strong stance on Taiwan? Really? The largest terror attack in probably, I think, in world history? And you say America deserved, you won't take a stance on Taiwan? That's so weird.
Taiwan nowadays support just keeping the status quo, like the kind of.
But the
overwhelming majority's consensus opinion is that they don't want to disrupt relations with China, and they also like obviously if it was a situation between like full-blown independence versus like becoming a Chinese state, like becoming part of the Chinese state.
Do the people of Taiwan like pay taxes in China? Like do they vote?
I don't know the exact details of that.
Do they have like travel status in China?
But the thing is, like as far as
can we get a countdown for how long until he says U.S. imperialism, Western imperialism, IMF, U.S. hegemony, U.S. interest? There's got to be one of these words is coming up. It's got to be coming. Let's see.
As far as Chinese-Taiwanese relations goes, like the original inception of the country is a fascist dictatorship that America recognized as the real China until Richard Nixon normalized relations with China, and that's where they implemented the they call it strategic ambiguity, which I call lying.
Hold on, this says that the current administration of Taiwan maintains that Taiwan is already an independent country.
This
does not have to push for any sort of formal independence.
I was thinking Hong Kong, not Taiwan. When I said British, fascism, my bad.
Well, that's because they don't want to do like a full-blown.
Exactly.
They don't want to disrupt the status quo. That's why they're saying that.
Sure, they don't want to be invaded by China.
They want autonomy while simultaneously being under the Chinese banner.
They want independence, but they just don't want to be like attacked by China militarily.
Well, that's part of it for sure. So you understand how Taiwan was.
Just a part of it. Okay.
Part of it for sure. Now let's go back to the founding of Taiwan because I really don't want to talk about modern day geopolitics. Let's focus on a long time ago there was bad stuff.
The developed nation state, right? Like so, Mao purged and defeated the counter-revolutionary forces. Taiwan has been a larger part of like China historically, and the original Taiwanese claim was that the entire mainland China belonged to what is now known as Taiwan. And that was the American foreign policy position as well, because China was communist and Taiwan was a fascist military dictatorship. So they were like, oh yeah, we're just gonna completely ignore China until Nixon normalized relations with China, and then Taiwan became a democratic country, of course, with still a lot of reactionary opinions overall. But like that's gone away in recent years. I think the younger generations have a different perspective on the matter. But overall, like historically speaking, Taiwan and China being the same country, it has been around for much longer than like as Elon Musk said, Hawaii being an American state, much longer.
Taiwan is already independent. That's what I'm saying. People don't want a formal declaration just because they don't want a fucking war. But they're not wanting to be Hong Kong and be consumed by the Chinese party.
They don't want to be Hong Kong? What happened in Hong Kong?
He's just, oh my god, he's so cowardly. And I hate it too. The thing that I hate the most about this is that Hasan is the political authority on this show, right? Hasan is the one that markets himself as a political streamer. He's arguably the largest political streamer in the world. Ethan is just like a social media guy. He does like funny content and shit, and he does a show with Hasan. But Hasan's the largest political streamer in the world right now. Why can't he give concrete, resolute answers on this? Because you better believe, if we were talking about Iraq, that's one-sided. The U.S. is wrong, period. Afghanistan, the U.S. never should have gone in. Horrible, period. Right? Like, he'll give you very quick, probably say Libya intervention was bad, Bosnia intervention was bad.
Actually, wizard answer.
I imagine he might against everything, NATO, who knows? But now with like Taiwan, we need to bring out the most nuanced, waffly, non-committal, fencing positions possible against a guy that is known for, making videos by a guy that licks ice cream. Like,
am I saying the right place?
No,
they were independent, and then they got eaten.
They were not independent.
Well, they had some rights. They were less independent than Taiwan. Then they got eaten
Hong Kong was bought by.
Are you saying the people of Hong Kong did not want to be?
There were certain people that did not want to be part of China. Absolutely, that is 100% correct.
Most of them.
A lot of people
there. A lot of
people enjoyed having Western civil liberties while simultaneously like being in a unique position. But now that China already does regular trade with the rest of the world. Because like at a time in like the 90s, Hong Kong was seen as like this prosperous middle ground. But since the 2000s, like because of an insane amount of development and insane trade relations with the rest of the planet, there are tier 1 cities that are even larger and have more economic activity than Hong Kong in and of itself. And there was always a timeline where Hong Kong was going to be given back to China. They just accelerated it by like 2 decades. If I'm not mistaken. Because that was a lease on Hong Kong. So the people of Hong Kong, there were certainly a lot of people in Hong Kong that did not want
regardless
to
of that.
But overall, you look at the situation in Hong Kong right now, it's like they claimed that it was going to be devastating, and that has not happened.
Nothing.
Is this just going to go on really for a whole 20 more minutes? Is that true? Should I watch the rest of this? Or?
That we know of, because they have no freedom of speech anymore.
Okay.
They can't talk. They lost
that
their
part's true. You're right.
What are we
I got so mad when he said that.
Well, not.
They have secret prisons,
I
bro.
do not agree with China's social or civil liberties policies. I do not agree with that at all.
But
so I don't live in China.
But
the
United States, bring up the US.
However, having said that,
the US,
you can just go to Hong Kong.
Okay, no, that's good. Thank God. I was going to worry about it,
and you can just go to every part of China pretty much and see for yourself. This is no longer like the North Korea style hermit kingdom where like no information comes out. Like we have
regardless,
we have a shit ton of Chinese people that live in America.
Regardless, bro, it's not that they had rights. They don't have rights now. They lost a lot of rights. But whatever. I mean, this is interesting. But you're very soft. You're very soft-footed around the issue of China. You love China.
I just, it's not I love China, it's that I hate America. Just say that. I wish he was just honest about it too. Just be honest about it, dude. Most of the progressives would cheer you on anyway.
I think China.
If you love China so much, why don't you marry it?
Once again, I don't live there. I choose to live here because of the issues that you just brought up, which is civil liberties being taken away, no freedom of speech, walled garden internet. Like there are certainly parallels to the American state or the Western world. There are certain comparisons that you can make.
There we go.
But overall, that kind of mechanism of control is one that.
I'm sitting on the American.
Do you think he actually hates America or loves the image of hating America? No, he loves the image of hating America. There's nothing more American than the aesthetic of hating America. Whether we're talking about actual revolutionaries or people in the early days of the United States, or whether we're talking about quote-unquote socialists and communists that are wealthy kids that have been basically subsumed by capitalism, the critiques of capitalism subsumed by American-style capitalism itself. It's all part of the same shit. If they hated America, they would leave. If Hasan's got enough money to live literally anywhere he wants in the entire world, and he chooses to be in California, there's a reason why. Right?
Do not appreciate personally, which is why I choose to live here. But as far as like cruelty, oppression, like what you're talking about with respect to Hong Kong, the promises that Western media overall made about like how China was going to crush Hong Kong under its like ruthless, oppressive thumb has not happened.
I don't think that was the point. I think the point was just that there's whoever was vocal about wanting to maintain certain rights in Hong Kong was probably thrown in a secret prison and never heard from again.
I mean, certainly there was political dissidents are definitely like
taken out back.
They're not killed or anything, but even then it's like completely.
They take a walk and and they go for a beer and they don't come back.
Yeah, they're not good on that stuff.
But well, anyway, I was just curious. I didn't mean to open a can of worms, but you say you think the people of Taiwan whatever they want, and it seems to me that the people of Taiwan want independence. So I'm right with you there, brother. Independence for Taiwan.
I think one nation, two systems.
What?
One nation, two systems.
Yeah, which is the current
like Israel and Palestine.
Oh my God, you don't want to go down.
Oh, that was such a good.
You got roasted.
That was such a good. Oof.
That rabbit hole. Come on.
I just like it. I'm just trying.
You should have leaned into that one.
To get you.
That part is like literally. I mean, that is a. I mean, that's an advocacy in the opposite direction. In my.
Can I just say I will give a lot of props to Hasan. I have never heard Hasan talk about international politics this long without using the term Western imperialism, American imperialism, or American or Western hegemony. Good job, Hasan. He's evolving. Okay, congratulations. I can't believe he's made this.
Actually, good job.
Using that phrase.
My opinion, where
independence for Taiwan. You heard it here from Hasan.
Because remember, like the overwhelming majority of people living in Taiwan are still Han Chinese. Therefore, despite the fact that it's a separate country, it's still like the same people. The language is the same. People will say
Ukraine belongs to Russia for that exact reason.
I don't think Ukraine belongs to Russia. I don't give a fuck about the Ukrainian constitution. I don't give a fuck about the Ukrainian like border sovereignty that some of you dumbasses are talking about. Like you're like a 3%er vote for Ukraine. Okay, it's so stupid. Crimea is not the same as Kiev. However, Crimea is not the same as the rest of Ukraine. However, Eastern Ukrainian territory.
It's actually intense.
Have a lot of Russian people living in them because Ukraine and just like Crimea and much of the rest of the country was a part of Russia, was a part of the USSR until not that long ago. Okay, people's parents were alive back then, so obviously there's a lot of Russian people living there. So if you have, but like you feeling bad about the Crimean annexation does not change the reality of the Crimean annexation being a completely justifiable act by the Russian government. Okay, so that's it. That's fine. And Hitler invaded countries based on dramatic ties at first? Yeah, dude. Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians in a fuck. What are you talking about? Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians in a concentration camp, okay? Hitler wasn't bad because he decided to invade Austria. He was bad because he's killing Jews, okay? That was the problem. He wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna annex territory with like Germanic people in it. That wasn't the main problem with Hitler, I think. That was like maybe 8th down the line. Slide? Yeah? I would look like Tim Pool after that 49-state landslide L if, you know, there was a bombing, active bombing currently happening.
Actually, yeah, attack on the
On Kiev and like Ukrainians were being murdered.
Oh no, this motherfucker. I started streaming. I wanted to watch this video and do a debunk, and you already did it. This is an insane video. Did they delete it? Oh, those fucking cowards. Oh, I think they did delete it. They privated it after this video. Oh no!
Because Ukrainian nation state, the Ukrainian nation state project, there are similarities. You're not wrong about that. But the Ukrainian nation state project is a well-defined nation state.
also wrong there. God private that.
Has always has been around for much.
Is it? So I might be unfair to Hasan. There might be times where I'm ineloquent. But one of the criticisms I made of Hasan a lot is it feels like he's you go to Hasan, you want like all the progressive talking points rattled off basically. But I would never go to Hasan stream thinking like, I wonder what Hasan thinks about this issue. I would go to Hasan stream like, what are progressives saying about this issue, right? Because I'm not probably gonna get original take on Hasan. But it sounds like, damn, when he stepped outside of his talking points, what is he even saying right now? Like we're just like saying a whole bunch of the Ukrainian nation state project has some similarities to Taiwan. Like, what are you even talking about right now?
Much longer than like Taiwan being an independent nation state.
So the people's entitlement to freedom.
Like you can make a better argument for Crimea being a separate country than like.
But what I'm hearing is that it's just a function of how old their culture is, how entitled they are to freedom.
It's not. I don't think that it's like.
I also feel like, like I'm gonna be honest. I don't know that much about Taiwan and Hong Kong's history. Hong Kong was bought by the British at some point. They got like an agreement for some independence there, and I don't know. Taiwan considers itself the real China, and all of China belongs to Taiwan, and China considers itself the real China. And I don't know what the actual like indoctrination intrigue. Like I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. But like, damn, if I was getting grilled on it, I'd be like, listen, I just don't know that much about like the history of Taiwan and Hong Kong. I can't give you strong opinions on this. Other than I'm pretty sure both Hong Kong and Taiwanese people really want to be separate from China.
That's it. You don't know, I mean.
That's like yeah. But I don't know why you would just say that rather than waffle around on this so hard. Like holy shit.
Those two concepts are not the two concepts at play here. Like it's not like entitled to freedom versus entitled to freedom versus what was the other thing you said?
Well, it just seems like you're talking about like their national, say, have some kind of national heritage or identity.
Well, the thing that I was mentioning there, the reason why I mentioned that is because you were talking about making a comparison between like Israel Palestine. Being that the same people, I think, makes that kind of, especially existing under the construct of having like one nation state regardless with freedom of travel in between. It's literally like a mile off the coast, you know what I mean, of China. Having all of that factors into like whether there's going to be assimilation or not. And there's no need for assimilation even. They have like normal trade relations with Taiwan, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why it's considered to be a delicate political conversation, but one that currently the current system benefits both.
And so if China takes military action against Taiwan, as some people speculate may happen.
Yeah, I mean, that would not be good. I don't think that would be good. I think that would be really, really terrifying. It would be disruptive for the entire global economy as well.
Right, but I'm just mean like from, whose army are you joining?
Neither.
Front line are you fighting?
I'm fucking moving to
Taiwan.
I'm moving to an undisclosed location.
A lot of us never engage with hypotheticals.
I'm moving to an undisclosed location.
Neither.
I'm on the front
I'm gonna be on a fucking ship.
Whoever has the best computer chips, I'm fighting for.
Okay.
I'm a chip for myself.
If it wasn't for America, China would have some pretty solid chip technology, but America's like regularly trying to stop that process. Like they went to the Netherlands and be like, you can't sell China your chip technology, which is fucking insane if you ask me.
It's incredible the takes in chat, how many people are like, just the
oh, how many are supporting China because of Hasan's fans maybe?
The polarization of this topic.
Oh, okay,
Fucking
right.
insane.
Well, of course there's gonna be polarization on the topic because the American media has been gearing people to be across the board like vicious, no matter what, to any foreign adversary. China being the main foreign adversary now, so people are going to be very passionate in their defense and start saying,
Here comes the media sitting.
care about the people in Taiwan. You're not talking about the people in Taiwan. You don't
So
care about
it's the media. If it weren't for the media's propaganda, people would not be siding with Taiwan.
Yeah, I mean, think about it this way. Why the fuck does no one care about Yemen?
Oh, Hasan is like kind of got a point, but he's like making it in the worst possible way.
You know what I mean? Why? Because Saudi Arabia is the one, our ally, Saudi Arabia is the one doing the genocide in Yemen. And you never see people get dispassionate about Yemen. I think people get dispassionate about Syria.
I think Taiwan has more relevance to the United States, like in terms of economical and social.
Yeah, that was developed.
Well, that's only natural that people would care more about something that affects them more. I don't think Yemen.
Yeah, I love that Ethan, like, I don't even know if he's aware he's doing this. Ethan just like asks really good questions, and he brings up really good points in like the most kind of aloof way. Like, well, it's media propaganda that's meant to appreciate Taiwan, and look, we don't even care about Yemen, and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, like, I mean, yeah, but don't we like trade a lot more with Taiwan, so isn't that kind of normal? He just happens to like so nonchalantly kind of cut the bullshit and ask like the best kind of question to some of the guys. It's really funny. Drunken master style.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just don't think Yemen affects.
But it's still people. It's still people that are being mercilessly slaughtered, whereas no one is being
I'm
slaughtered in
This is mobile drunken massage.
Taiwan in a similar capacity, and yet there are way more passion because,
not saying it's
like
right
we
or
said,
wrong. I mean,
it is designed to have this kind of.
And you think that if the only reason people care about the Ukraine is because of the media?
Absolutely, 100%.
Nobody would care.
Yeah, of course.
Anybody care about Georgia?
Yeah, that's a great
Probably,
question.
I don't know.
No one gives a shit about Georgia.
It was in the news for like a week or two.
That's crazy.
But Georgia also isn't really part of Europe, right? That's what we care more about, right? Not Eurasia as much. As mean as that is, but it's also we don't care about like Azerbaijan. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure there were issues going on there recently. Like, yeah.
Hold on. Well, I mean, what about in Europe? They seem to care about Ukraine a lot.
It's the similar principle.
How are you going to say it's the media for Europe caring about a European country being invaded by the former Soviet Union? Bro.
What?
Really?
Media is still media everywhere around the world.
I mean,
It plays a very
Ukraine is.
significant role.
Is it not over Ukraine?
Hold on. Ukraine borders Europe, and I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but Georgia is not really in such a geographically, strategically important location as Ukraine.
Okay.
Well, I'm just explaining why people might care.
Like, it's funny too, because notice how before, when he talked about Taiwan, the history was really important. But now that he's talking about Ukraine, the only thing that's important is The media, I guess? Why don't we talk about the history of Ukraine and Europe?
The idea that you can just move in and take over places because there might be some conflict there doesn't make any more sense than if Southern California suddenly had a bunch of Mexican separatists there, wanted to break that away and have them join Mexico. The rest of the world wouldn't say, well, United States, you just have to kind of cede your sovereignty and allow some of your states to break away and join Mexico. Of course not. We would hold on to that land because it's our sovereign territory. And since 1991, Ukraine has had distinct borders that have been recognized by not only the rest of the world, but Russia itself, and no amount of separatist movements, especially ones that are funded by Russia, allow them to break away and just join Russia. And then the reason I don't like to go back historically is because when people want to go back historically, they only go back so far. You know, you hear Putin, you hear all these other people talk about, well, you know, the people in the East, you know, they feel Russian, they speak Russian, they've got a lot of Russian ethnic roots. Yeah, of course, that's because during events like the Holodomor, millions of Ukrainians were forcibly starved to death. Their meat was requisitioned, and people that were trying to flee towns were shot and murdered by Soviet troops. So after millions of people died and hundreds of thousands of Russians, ethnic Russians, are shipped in, which the Soviet Union did to all of their little republics that they had gotten as part of the Soviet Union, to go back into the past and then to come forward into the future and say, well, look, there's a lot of ethnic Russians there now. This is a prior genocide and supersede the sovereign borders drawn by the country in 1991. And then we go forward to 2020 and say, well, look, there's a lot of ethnic Russians
This
there.
is why I didn't want to talk about Ukraine history.
Absolutely bizarre to me. I think when we frame the conversation, I think we have to start saying, well, Russia's worried about this, so they should be able to invade, or Russia likes this, so they should be able to take that. Let's look at it from the Ukraine perspective. They have a country that was recognized internationally with borders since 1991. What right does Russia or any other country have to come in and steal territory from them? I haven't heard a single justification for that.
Right? There'd be like historical reasons why it's pretty important that Ukraine remain an uninvaded country with sovereignty and borders that everywhere. Like, it's just so funny how he switches arguments based on what he's trying to argue. Yeah, I'm so curious what Hasan fans think of when they see him in these situations. Like, this is my political streamer of the year, geopolitical expert guy, who supposedly does politics 24/7 on a stream, right? Like,
more about Ukraine than Georgia. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying.
It's the people. It's the people
I'm not saying it's not people. I'm just saying because your theory is that the support for Ukraine and Taiwan is essentially manufactured. That it wouldn't exist.
Good job. You think
it shouldn't exist.
I'm not saying it shouldn't exist. I'm simply stating that. I'm simply stating that
it's manufactured. People only care about it because they've been tricked to caring about it.
It's not tricked, but dude, like, normal people don't think about foreign policy. Are you saying that you don't think that normal people's opinions about like international matters are shaped by what they see on the news?
God, this guy's such a Hasan. Somebody was a Majority Report fan. I don't know if that's true. I'm just repeating fake news, but like.
Hold on, because I'm being double teamed now, so I need to speak. Of course it is. But this implication that you're like, if you say nobody cares about Taiwan or Ukraine because of the media, it implies that, you know, the support for those two countries or care for those two countries is like, you know, manufactured. That it's really not sincere. That's what it sounds like.
You jumped to that.
No, he didn't jump to that. Ethan brought up exactly. What is Ethan like? God, I've seen Ethan do so many stupid things. But then sometimes I feel like Ethan is like razor sharp. Ethan is correct. That was the implication. Hasan was implying that the only reason we give a fuck about Ukraine is because the media manufactured our interest there. And he's bringing it up because he jumped that. No, he didn't jump that at all. That was exactly what Hasan's implication was.
Sorry.
No, I am saying that. I think,
and now Hasan literally is saying that he's fighting against the producer guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying that the support for the overwhelming majority of Americans for any country that the United States of America has a genuine interest in is manufactured in either direction. It can be manufactured carelessness and inconsideration, like being inconsiderate and ruthlessly violent at certain points, which is the example I was going to use with 9/11 and what we did post 9/11, or it could be manufactured in the other direction, where it's like this is the just war. This is the just war that we have to fight, like we did in Vietnam originally when there was need to generate popular support for whatever kind of action America consistently takes. Now,
I'm not denying that propaganda exists. Yeah, but I am saying that like the comparison of Ukraine to Georgia is not apples to oranges. That's all I'm saying. It's not.
What do you mean by this?
Ukraine borders like mainland Russia, Europe.
Okay.
Europe cares a lot about it.
Okay. I would say that it's probably more. I would say that in Europe there's probably more of a not controversy necessarily, but it's a more divisive issue in I think Europe than it is in America most likely.
It's also like, you know,
what's a more divisive issue? Whether or not to support Ukraine? Is that what he said?
Yes, absolutely. No,
it's not fair to compare because I think the EU's GDP is 2x the United States, is it? But Europe has supported Ukraine more than the United States in terms of overall aid, weapons. Like,
not the best precedent when like
oh, is it 1-to-1? Is the EU GDP? European Union GDP is $17.4 trillion. What's the US GDP at? Oh my god. Holy shit. Okay. Jesus fucking Christ. Was the European Union ahead of the United States at one point? Am I making that up? Oh, the UK left. True. That might impact things as well. Oh, okay. Europe's GDP has increased since 2008. Okay.
Like tyrants start land grabbing in Europe. Generally
I don't disagree with that. I agree with you. I think that
so I understand why people don't like
completely unjustifiable. And it's also, even if you're like pro-Russia, pro-Vladimir Putin, anti-NATO, right? Even if you're all of those things, it is a laughtly idiotic thing to do because all you've done is now galvanize NATO support in Europe and justified it. Because that was the entire reason for NATO's existence, is to stop the USSR, stop communism from thriving. And obviously, Russia is a very different country than the USSR was, and is no longer ideologically aligned with communism at all. It is a state that Western capitalists basically
really, I mean, I would invent it.
And propped up oligarchs, including people like Vladimir Putin. So, despite all of that, it's still utilized as a protection racket that you basically justified its existence of by doing such an unimaginably cruel,
protection racket. How many NATO countries were attacked by other countries in world history?
Main unjustifiable act, invading Ukraine. So it's a strategic blunder, even if you're like pro-Russia.
I just think people are capable of caring about it without.
Well, I mean, I care
being
about
like, you know,
I care about it.
People sincerely can care about it.
I love he does that thing. Hasan will do that. Where like, if you were a woman, you were walking down an alley and a guy was going to stab you, would you call the cops if he was a minority? And Hasan's like, well, I wouldn't. He always says, well, I to like avoid like actually engaging with the subject matter.
Even though, you know, you think it's unfair that people didn't care as much about Georgia. You know, that's my point.
It's not necessarily just not caring about Georgia. My opinion on this is that we, as a nation here in America and all around the world, are not immune to propaganda. No. As a matter of fact, every piece of information that we analyze has a great impact on our decision-making process, and therefore, doing full media blitz on any particular issue is usually going to yield these kinds of results and this kind of support, which without that kind of media blitz would not exist. Does that make sense?
Again, I'm not denying that propaganda exists, and they were all, you know,
And the example I was going to use was our justification for the invasion of Afghanistan and the invasion of Iraq. These were both unjustifiable wars, in my opinion. The war on terror was across the board, wholesale, ruthless, cruel, led to millions of people dying, led to tens of millions of people being destabilized, and we're still living in the rubble of that kind of cruel and unusual action. And it was championed by a majority of the American population, and until like the past couple of years,
what does that have with Ukraine being invaded by Russia?
Where do you think that kind of attitude came from? Okay, where do you think that justification came from? There was $1 billion industry.
There was also 9/11 too, which probably definitely galvanized support of the United States for any type of war in the Middle East, right?
Ukraine was invaded by Russia.
No, it is exactly the same
It's
thing.
an obvious, I mean.
Grabbing land.
I agree with what you're saying. My point is, my point is that no, my point is that Americans think that they are independent thinkers, and yet they are motivated into believing things, no matter what. It can be a just cause. It can be a just cause in a situation where you're supporting Ukraine and Ukraine independence, which is an independent nation state. You know what I mean? It's been an independent nation state in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR. It's been an independent nation state. You can't just turn around and be like, all right, it's mine now, right? I agree with that. And that can be seen as a just war, an understandable war. It's not even a war that the Ukrainian people wanted, right? But having said that, the American support, the full support, is absolutely.
It doesn't seem like there's full throated support. There's a lot of people that don't support it. There's a very diverse opinion of
if you look at the polls in the original invasion, the amount of support.
There's a lot of conservative people who are like Putin, and then there's also a bunch of like lefties, like I mean,
Those aren't
Oh my god, he just like unintentionally says like the funniest things.
really aren't like who like the guy we were speaking to, the communist professor.
Bruce Wolf?
Yeah, who's like kind of
The communist professor. I love Ethan so much. The communist professor.
people like him are also very anti-Ukraine in general.
I don't know his entire perspective, but
Doesn't seem
I
very
don't think
bullish,
you can be pro. If you are offering even critical
And
support
there are so many anti-Ukrainians right now.
to Russia, or not Russia, but like
Is Ethan a DGGer? Is he in chat right now? Jesus.
Putin in general, I don't think you're doing the right thing.
I don't know
think
because he didn't really flesh
yeah,
out.
I think you're lost in the sauce. I think you're lost in the sauce in the sense that
Me or him?
no, like anyone that's like, oh no, Vladimir Putin's the right thing. He is like he has to have.
I don't think I think like here's like Ukraine, Zelensky is also a shit starter, and it's their problem that we should get involved in.
Ethan's doing a good job too. Hasan wants to like hand wave all the arguments, like, oh yeah, it's really bad when people say this obviously really ridiculous thing. And he's like, well, but that's not what a lot of people are saying. They're saying this other thing. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's more reasonable. But let's talk about that point, right? Yeah. Because people don't just say like, oh, Putin's good. Usually what left people say is, what about Iraq? What about Afghanistan? What about U.S. support of horrible overseas things? What about how bad Zelensky is? That's true, right?
I don't know. I think there's a lot. There are people who like claim to be socialist or even communist that are like defending Vladimir Putin, but they're marginal.
Well, Dan, you seem to think that the Ukraine war is something America should get involved in.
Why did I ever say that?
Well, based on what you were saying about Georgia.
No, we were having a discussion about how media shapes narratives in the United States. And I was saying that, again, I'm talking about Europe, I'm talking about the United States, the Russian invasion of Georgia was a non-story. Nobody gave a shit here.
But it's
We know that was definitely a story. It might have only been a story for like a week or two, which I think might have been how long it lasted for. It was only a story for a short amount of time, but it was definitely international. It was a big deal when that came out. That was a big deal story when it happened, but it was just short-lived.
and it is different. There's difference.
It was a sovereign nation, the Russian invasion.
Because it doesn't have the same proximity or the same importance within as Ukraine, I think.
Right, but we're talking past each other. Like that, and Ukraine is more important to the United States strategically. That's why it gets attention. We're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, okay. I know people are influenced by the media.
Right, but you were saying you think that people,
Are allowed to care about things genuinely.
No,
Also.
nobody's saying
Nobody's saying you're not allowed to.
I'm not allowed to, but Hasan was saying
What was I saying?
that it's a manufactured
Yes,
sport.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And that is something that the U.S. media does. They manufacture support for U.S.
We're saying
I'm not saying that all U.S. foreign policy is bad, but I think it is unquestionably true that the U.S. media crafts people's craft the narrative.
So what is the disagreement then? Like, what if maybe I'm not using
The disagreement is that Ethan is saying that you can have moral or reasonable grounds, basically, to disagree with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And Hasan and this other producer guy are basically trying to write it off as like, oh, it's a manufactured issue, otherwise we wouldn't give a Both are kind of true, but Hasan is leaning really heavily into the manufactured issue.
There's the implication that support for Ukraine or Taiwan is not authentic.
Yes.
Right,
You're
you're
doing a
right,
good job,
yeah,
Ethan.
yeah.
And then you stand said.
I think the examples I use are always like America has 800 military bases all around the planet. We have our hands in everyone's pockets, right? And there's active conflict happening everywhere around the planet all the time, and the United States is involved in it. If you are not thinking about it, if you're not thinking about something happening specifically, that's because for the most part, media has not covered it. The most part, media is.
I don't know. Let's move on.
And I think that's deliberate.
It's like just not even fun to watch probably at this point.
Okay.
You want to talk about Lauren Boebert being a psycho?
We can do that.
Jesus Christ. Yes, King, Ethan asking the right questions. H3 subreddit, 505 comments. You call us out a tanky, you don't know what tanky means. It lost so much of its meaning at some level of woke in terms of how people misuse it. OP is a Destiny fan. It's foreign policy knowledge from Destiny regurgitating articles written by David Frum. Oh, cool. Here comes another heated lefty versus lib. Pearl clutching geopolitics discourse in the sub. Between writers who read one tangentially related book in high school and know something about know someone whose neighbor's parents are from Taiwan and actually care a lot about the issue. Jesus.
Redditors come
I
in.
knew about it. I would care. So yes, definitely focuses. Shots, $20. It's BS that we don't care about Georgia. There was a crisis in the EU and the Polish president, along with Baltic leaders, flew to Tbilisi during the Russians' advance. Bush was threatening retaliation. The only reason they stopped.
Yeah, I think this ending.
Sounds being a bit too cynical here.
This was the last part. TikTok.
His name is Bertrell Russell. Media posts.
And prepare.
Wow.
Okay.
I feel connected.
Nice.
Fox News poll. Trump posts biggest lead yet over DeSantis. DeSantis losing 3 points. Trump leading by 47 points. Jesus. It looks like when DeSantis... I mean, this kind of makes sense. DeSantis' fans are probably Trump fans, so as DeSantis leads fans, they probably shift over to Trump. Vivek flipped on his TikTok ban after talking to Jake Paul.
Vivek is tired.
I didn't know Jake Paul on Sunday. He changed his mind convinced to join TikTok. Yes, kids under age 16 should be using it, but the fact is that some young voters are. We're not going to change this country without winning. We can't just talk about the importance of the GOP reaching young voters while hiding in our own echo chambers. It's bad when the CCP collects data from US users via TikTok, but the truth is it's no better when American companies like Airbnb do the same thing by handing over US data to China. And we're not going to get China to play this instead. Wait, is that true? Does Airbnb hand over US data to China? Sounds like it's implying 16-year-olds are voting black. Oh yeah, that's true. Or that too, yeah. Hello? Oh.
Yo, Destiny.
Hi, what's up?
I just want to give you props on that research you did earlier today. I got to listen to a bunch of it. You picked through their talking points within hours, came to the same conclusion that I have. We got to hear from David Weiss. I'm not going to try to get you back into this. I'm sure you're exhausted on the Burisma stuff and all that, but that's it. We got to hear from the U.S. Attorney David Weiss, and you saw the lead FBI agent rebutted those guys' claims. Terrorist whistleblowers too.
Still
So
ending
we
there.
just got to hear from David Weiss, who has written 3 letters to Congress saying that's not true what those guys say.
In hospital.